What's going on, everybody? This is your boy, Jose Cruz. Yes, your favorite Native American, the amazing Asian, the creative native, Jose, Brose, Goze, all the names above. Still Here podcast, back at it, man. We got a special announcement. We're just going to jump straight into this. We got my good friend, my brother, Monty Torres. Welcome back, sir. How are you?
Very good. Good to be here with you, Jose. How are you?
Doing good, man. Let's jump straight into it, man. Our last podcast, a lot of great, reaction, a lot of good connection, man. People love to hear your story. They're happy to hear that you're telling your story and you're more active and, getting back at it, man. But what's life been like since after the pod? What's new? What's going on, man? Let's get an update.
Well, since the podcast, the first one we did, and that was a lot about my retirement and what brought that about. And there's no going around that. That is that diagnosis of cancer.
Yeah.
That still occupies a lot of my time right now because I'd say it's still a battle, at least in my mind. Maybe it's not as much as I think, but I'm not over the idea that I need to cooperate with the doctors more in making sure this is fully gone.
Yeah.
I'm not experiencing much in the way of symptoms as in the very beginning. Did I tell you about those?
Yeah.
First time?
Maybe refresh us,
Just that when I first got this diagnosis, what brought me to get that was a shortness of breath and a lot of fluid in my right lung.
Yeah.
I noticed it when I was out running and I started feeling that, didn't know what it was, and I started wheezing. I went in to my doctor who had me get a chest x-ray, and long story short, that showed this right lung almost totally full of fluid and collapsed because of that. And they did some testing on the cells inside the lung, in the fluid in the lung, as well as a biopsy of an area of thickening on the outside of the lung area. It both confirmed what they said was adenocarcinoma. That's a type of cancer of the right lung. And that started this whole shebang.
Yeah.
That was last September, coming on a year almost.
Man.
And then that's when I did that, of course, when you jump into something like that, it's all new. You don't know anything, at least I didn't know anything about cancer, the cancer doctors I needed to see and so forth. So that I found that pretty time consuming to get into that. And it's still continuing now because there's insurance issues, changing care issues, and doctors. And so, and monitoring of something new, which is your response or reaction to the medication. It's a pretty powerful medication that they give you up against cancer. And that has side effects of its own. Among them, dizziness or can be vision issues. Other things as well, maybe fluid retention, maybe heart issues. There's a whole range different people experience. So you have to monitor that because these are some serious issues. And go back in and check it. Anyway, so that's something I can't get away from just yet, but I hope to, because among my most important treatments are the prayers that so many of the viewers have committed for us, for me, and you and your family. And I know God hears, and I feel great, to be honest. I feel good.
Because I remember when you said you literally, other than the diagnosis and the medication, you're still ready to go to work.
So that's how I feel.
Everything feels
that's
normal.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, that's why you're still here.
So I'm still here with
you. But we made an announcement after that. We shot a teaser. I mean, let's jump straight into it. You mentioned in your teaser, what's going on and what's next. Maybe let's, you can announce what's next and what's happening now and why are you here.
This is a preview of what's next. I will be sitting here with you quite often discussing whatever we want to talk about. That's something new for me. In terms of the range of what we'll be talking about, we'll be able to go out to boldly go where no man is.
Or so no media, legacy media.
That's been used before, sorry. But you know what I mean? I mean, we'll talk about just about anything, which I have a wide range of interests anyway, so I'd be happy to talk about most anything. And explore outside also. Going from scripted, how in television news we have a script running across the front of the screen, and we're reading what's going on. I would love the memory of being able to tell all those stories with no scripting, but I can't do that. There's too many of them. I have to read them.
It's countless, man. I remember just in news there, you had so many producers, writers, and then EPs and directors
Right.
and so many people putting that along with your writing and
which is important because you want to be detailed,
Yeah.
careful and make sure you get those stories right. So there's value to that. But this more free-flowing, non-scripted conversation that we're having is a different beast, and I'm going to be growing and getting used to it, as well as looking forward to exploring it with you and with the things we talk about.
Yeah, man, I'm happy. Me and my wife have been talking about this and just kind of, the direction I've been, like I said, I started my podcast with my guys, Talking in Points podcast. And, but there's this other side of me that I really want to start releasing factual information, some commentary, some opinions on, certain subjects or situations and, what's going on in our country, our culture. And I didn't know where that was going to go. And I didn't know how I was going to do that because at the end of it right now, it's just me and my wife and, we have my kids here, but it's like, I want the right partnerships and I don't know the timing of God and just kind of, how things just lay out and just how God presents them, man. And,
we are both coming from that same starting point in terms of looking for God's direction in these things and not afraid to explore the whole concept of salvation and God and Jesus Christ, which to me is the most important thing I could be talking about, and everything around it. I mean, the differing opinions and attitudes, the experiences. There are some just stunning experiences that people have had out there, me included, and so. It'll be happy to share those, to talk about those, expand on those, and many others, and to look at it with that framework or through that lens. Everything else that we talk about, everything from, we'll probably get into it at one point. UFOs.
Yeah. Yes.
You see that eagerness there, right? And the strange happenings around that, as well, international. Political things and the looming, the ongoing wars and the looming wars going on. In fact, that also can tie in with your theological or your biblical outlook in terms of what does that mean and where are we and where are we going?
Yeah, and I think that's the next step. Yeah, that's the next step of what we were doing, and that's kind of now we're stepping into that. So this is what's next. You guys heard it here. Monty Torres has joined the Still Here podcast team as one of the hosts. And
I want to say, Jose, we want to invite the audience to participate in this conversation to the extent that not only did they hear us, but, tell us their stories, their thoughts, their ideas, their questions.
Yeah. And that's the point of it, too, is like we want to connect with local business owners and, nonprofits, people that are making an impact on the community in a positive way, and really telling the stories, because that's the whole point of the podcast is telling stories.
There's a whole big world out there that there's a lot of things, a lot of people who have a lot to say that and experiences to share, things, questions that maybe no one else is asking or a few others are asking, or they just don't get the time and the spotlight that they need for other people to hear about what they're asking and saying.
Yeah, and I agree because news is news. I get, like you said, there's a lot that goes into a 1 hour show, so you have to hit what's happening now, breaking news, kind of what's happening in our community, jump to weather, then come back to, another story in our nation and then end out with the weather and sports or whatever. So there's something it has to be, and I get it, and I love how, in my experience and your experience, just see that type of machine just happen every day, 365 days a year, man. And that taught me consistency, man. But on podcasting, man, like you said, we're not limited to time. We're not limited to, corporate, opinion or just, or narrative or something like that, man. We're pretty much, it's an open book and we're down to tell people's stories, man, whether we agree with them or don't. And I feel like that's the whole point of this podcast in the direction of Still Here podcast, and you coming, hip to hip together, our family, your family, and just, moving forward, man, to tell this story, and tell other people's story. Let me ask you, man, coming from news, like you said, this is new. You've had a lot of questions on like, what do I wear? What do I do? This is like, man, just, that maybe describe the difference between the news world you've been a part of pretty much your whole life, and then this radical change of just like, boom, podcast now. Does all that get thrown out the window, or is it?
I don't think it. I honestly can't tell you entirely.
Yeah.
The whole news world and structure has been around for a lot longer than I have. Even it started way back when, and there are many similarities today. Of course, technology has brought about a lot of changes too. Yeah. But so now sitting here, podcasting without the script, without the rundown, knowing exactly where we're going to go next and so like that, is a little scary for someone who's been used to that.
Yeah.
But exciting too.
Yeah.
To know that you have that freedom to branch out and move about with the conversation, what you want to say, what there is to say, and in terms of expressing more of your own perspective and opinion in the news too, than in the news rather. So I like that. I have to learn how to do that more still. Yeah. Or I should say not so much to learn as I have to get used to doing that more still.
Well, and I think that's what's going to make this experience, I think organic, authentic, is because we have a team. My wife's here, your wife's here, my daughter's here. We have another person that has joined that can't be officially named yet, but she's like very informative. She can produce a lot of content and a lot of ideas and topics right out the gate, and just kind of give us, episode by episode, along with the team we have here. So we're starting to get covered in that, so it's not so much now, all right, here, go swim, go learn the hard way, so we've taken some time. We've met, a few times here.
Plus I've known you quite a while.
Yeah. So it's been good to me, man. So let's talk about like that decision, after the fact you were praying, what's next, God, what's next? Did you expect Still Here podcasting? Was that,
I didn't put any particular parameters on it. I didn't say I'll only go do this or only do more news or not. And again, I knew you, so you're familiar and friendly face there. And I'm open to most things actually as I go along and learn about them until I learn more about them and see if it's something that I'm comfortable with or fits me or not. Talking I'm comfortable with, as in podcasts, and talking on a wide range of subjects. I guess I do have a number of opinions, so I think I can manage that. But just getting used to, as I mentioned, no teleprompter. How about what I don't know is, do you interact live much with an audience in terms of people called in or write in or anything like that too?
We've done that a few times. We've set up some of our shows to where we can set up, hey, we'll call you at this time. Well, we call it phoning a friend. And if it's anybody, I've had certain podcasts where I've talked to a guy out in New Jersey about cryptocurrency. So I zoomed them in.
You do that from time to time.
Yeah, I do that from time to time, and talk to a guy in Canada about social media content, or Canada, right? Did I say Canada? What the heck? Canada. And so, because I was thinking social media, so it really, I think what I love about podcasting and these type of platforms, man, it's just literally, it's whatever goes.
But you'd feel comfortable here also inviting maybe live email questions from the audience.
100%.
I don't know if we're actually set up for phone calls, but
we can.
Some way to get the audience to interact like that would be kind of good. Direct live audience interaction is a great way to go to take a conversation where they want it to go. Yeah,
and I think they ask the questions that they really want answers to.
Right. Yeah.
And I get 1 hour segments, and I get corporate-owned news industries, man, and companies. But whereas us, we can take the question, and I'm more open to it. Even if I disagree with the question, I'll take it. I'll receive that, and I'll give my honest answer, whether I agree with or don't agree with. I'm not worried about that. And what we love here at I Still Hear Podcasts and Talking to Points, man, we're just going to be honest, and we're going to be open. We'll respect people, and my goal, and I think we've talked about this, in our last meeting, is let's go out to the community. Let's go support local businesses. Let's take this whole setup on the road, do a live town hall, because we can, however long we can. People can come and interact with us live, how's that make you feel knowing that just podcasting, we can do that? Because in the news, everyone thought, only the news does that.
Well, it shows the progress of different portions of the media and I guess it's sort of like the social media. So it shows that technology has come to the point where you can set up the studio here in this office, and we can do that. Something approximating the news, and I think it's great. Yeah,
and I'm excited because we've done a few live events, remote. We did a brewery. They were doing like this. A brewery trail run, whatever. They hit up all the breweries. And so we were there just doing a live podcast, talking to business owners, talking to some of the community leaders, about putting on events like this, like that. And, and it gives them a platform to talk about what they do.
Yeah, I give it to you I give you props for stepping out a long time ago in this whole area when it was newer.
Yeah.
And you because you knew you wanted to do this, and that you took a step right out into the adventurous, and from there you come a long way.
Hey man, I appreciate that. People thought I was crazy, man.
Well, we don't know they changed their mind yet, but
or they just think I'm crazy enough to do it, right? And so I think I've learned in the long run. After a while, I've worked in news, photog, and breaking news, and stories down at City Hall, the courthouse. And it's like, my mind is like, I can do this myself.
Mm-hmm. And you have.
Yeah.
You have across the years and all the way up to today and now going forward for what we're doing next.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know you've learned a lot going through the process, doing that. So as you said, through all that time and all the learning, you're still here.
That's right. And I know we've talked about the podcast and your story. I know we have questions and but what has been your thoughts joining Still Here podcast? What questions do you have? Kind of the direction, or what started? Because I know we talked earlier and you was like, I got a few questions, let's have our conversation.
Well, I still do have questions. It'll be, we haven't gone on with a full podcast yet. So I'm going to be interested in seeing what we develop and how we come up with subject ideas, story and subject ideas, how we're going to develop it and how we're going to explore it, how we're going to be able to not just get to the surface but knock at the edges and get a little deeper inside what we're talking about. Also, how we get different voices to participate and maybe ask us or give us some sides of that you and I don't think about, different perspectives and different views. So I'm wondering about that. I'm wondering about how I'm going to like this teleprompter, just free rambling conversation. But I think I can enjoy it. I mean, it's not exactly completely novel. So
I think one thing I've learned in life, man, and my daughter, we're driving actually home from work here, and she was telling me about one of her favorite movies is Moneyball, Brad Pitt.
Oh, yeah.
And they're doing this whole new direction, this whole new thing that hasn't really been done in baseball. And he said, it's the process, it's the process. And I've always learned in life, especially starting this business, man, and a lot of new ventures and new ideas and things that I've been doing as a business owner, podcaster, podcast production, is that it's the process, man. And I'm not, and I know you're not either. You're not worried or afraid about the new thing. You're down, you're ready, and this is a new world for you. You've mentioned that several times, and I'm excited for you, because this is where we get to see the full,
full Monty.
The full Monty, right?
Well, not in its original meaning, but yes.
Yeah, but you understand?
I do.
Yeah, but for me, it's exciting because like the next things I think we want to talk about is, certain stories. We've already interviewed a couple of people, that's come in here. There's stories that are on the back burner right now. We're getting more details. We're getting more information. We want to make sure we're factually right, and and we're still even very appropriate how we say things, very, very intentional, and I think that's the direction.
That's important.
Very important, and especially in news and that experience, what have you learned to come across, like the guidelines, right? The strict guidelines, but here pretty much it's whatever you want. What do you feel like?
Well, yes, but they share something in regard to the stories or the subject matter you're exploring or people, because if you want accuracy, and we do want accuracy.
Yeah, 100%.
If you want accuracy, the prep work takes as much or more time than the on-camera discussion. You've got to do the reading, the writing, the calling and talking to a few people, the researching to find out what you're talking about so you can come out there when you're ready to talk. Actually, you put it in the story for news. Here it'll be to try and contain it in here, and I'm not just, we'll see how that works.
Yeah, we'll be there. My goal is to get, because we can do teleprompters here, man. And my goal is to...
Well, we'll pull up a screen sometimes for 100%. If we want to display facts or details or figures, something like that.
And my experience too, man, again, it's what we've learned here to do what we do. I know people are doing it, man, but just how we're consistently knocking these podcasts out. I have another podcast this Thursday probably with the local business owner. Great guy, so it just doesn't stop. So my mind, once I go, a friend of mine, one of the mind goblins from the Talking in Points, he joined the podcast after the second episode, then we were here. And he was like, man, Jose, there's just one thing I know I've learned about you is that once you do something, you've moved fast. I gotta grow. I gotta keep learning, man. And I'm excited to see you come along and join what we're doing and we join your direction and your vision, because your wife has been very, she's been helpful, she's been, she has an extended hand in this and but news, you're always doing your job, but your wife is a part of this now. How's that make you feel?
That's true. I have a new producer.
How's that make you feel knowing that?
It's good. I like it. I like working with her like that.
Yeah.
It's the first time we've ever actually worked in a professional, semi-professional setting like that.
Yeah.
Maybe not exactly the first, a long time ago, but still, it's nice to have family there working alongside of you.
That's perfect. So what's your vision? I know we talked about talent stories, but like what stands out to you the most? What has your mind been processing since we've been talking and meeting?
Thinking on how we do this and what we tackle in terms of subject. And I expect that we're going to be talking about some things that are either delicate subjects, controversial subjects,
touchy,
and the like. Yeah, because that's where the passion is.
Yeah,
that's where the sparks fly. With respect, and I say when sparks fly, you can disagree, but you can still have respect in that, and decorum in terms of just the consideration for other people doesn't have to. Should always be there, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of the things that's going to be very important, man. I've learned. My problem is I can say it and I will say it, and I understand there's got to be, a biblical guideline to, respect for just God's people, but ultimately the truth, we were talking in our last meeting about the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness.
The armor of God. Yeah.
And the truth, if the truth hurts, it hurts. If it angers you, it's the truth, and so, and that's where my vision and my goal is to really have, what we're going to start having on the podcast, man, that's going to be the main point, man.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So anything you want to say to the audience, people are going to be listening, watching, obviously this is what's next. This is the announcement. What's your message to people listening and watching, man? And they're going to, start seeing things to come on Still Here podcast.
My message would be to please join us. Tell us what's important to you so that we can talk about that too. Tell us what you want to know about, even about us, and just be part of this new adventure for us with the Still Here podcast. Yeah, because that's where we'll be, right here, still here, exploring all those subjects and more.
Amen. I'm the same way. I think my last thoughts and message is, you're still here for a reason. We want to tell your stories and really be there for you and you're in the community here and that you're not alone. So whatever you feel like you're going through, anything you're facing, remember you're still here. You're still here for a reason. Come alongside us and what we're doing and we can help you find out why you're still here. And one of my biggest mistakes is my wife's been here producing, hosting. What's your thoughts, babe, on like Monty and everyone coming along and we're going to build this. Where are you at with all this?
At the very end. Okay. Yeah, I think it was great. Having two perspectives.
She's like the very end.
Yeah, I think that's a little.
I've been here the whole
early next time.
No, I think it's great them coming along and getting to know them more too, and I'm excited to see what stories, what people. It's gonna be really fun. I'm excited.
It's going to be good. Yeah. So you guys stay tuned for more content. This was just an announcement of what we got going on. Monty, did you have something?
I was just going to say, you said something very important. I think very important there too. You mentioned, using biblical standards and a biblical approach. which is part of what's important to both of us.
Yeah.
One of the things I mentioned to you that I don't, and I've said before, that it's the most important news I know, that there's a God, He sent His Son to pay the price for our sins and to bring us to eternal life, Jesus Christ. That underlies everything.
Amen.
As far as where I'm coming from, how I look out toward things. And I know you feel the same way. And I know one of the things we're going to share with the audience later on is the stories we have of how we came to be there and why it's so important to us and why we want to share that.
Yeah. And this is the only beginning right here. This is just the start. And I'm excited to know that, we have our same vision, the same target, the same goals we're reaching for now, man. And
buckle up. Let's go.
Buckle up. Let's go. So you guys stay tuned for our upcoming podcast, Hysteria Podcast, with your favorite hosts, Monty Torres, Jose Cruz, the wifey, Laura, Dina, everybody here. Dina's just like, yeah. But we're super excited. Shout out to our other team member that's going to be joining probably after Monday, we heard.
Oh, that's
right? Probably.
Yeah, maybe.
Make it official. And so stay tuned. We're shooting another podcast this week with a special guest. So what we want to do is keep promoting, keep telling stories. You'll see me by myself. You'll see Monty by himself. You'll get to know us personally. So it's one of the things that we want you guys to constantly have: encouragement, growth, motivation. Not so much motivation, but just continue to be better every day. So stay tuned for the next episode. I cannot wait. Stay tuned for a Talking in Points podcast, man. That's going to be dope. Those guys have been busy. They've been traveling, doing some family stuff for the summer, but stay tuned for that. We got another episode for Talking in Points, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.